Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. This podcast is for mature women who are ready to heal, rejuvenate, and thrive in every area of their lives. Today's guest is Greg, known as Greg the Hydrogen Man. He is a molecular hydrogen production expert, independent researcher, and the host of the popular YouTube channel Uprising 144K. His work is rooted in both science and lived experience, making his perspective uniquely powerful and deeply inspiring. After facing a devastating series of health challenges, including extreme depression, a compromised immune system, tumors, autoimmune issues, severe gut dysfunction, arthritis, limited mobility that left him wheelchair bound, and a serious heart condition, Greg found himself searching relentlessly for answers when conventional paths fell short. Refusing to accept a life defined by illness, Greg embarked on a personal healing journey that ultimately led him to the emerging field of molecular hydrogen. Over the course of 4 years, he immersed himself in studying the powerful compound, exploring its potential impact on inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular health. By integrating molecular hydrogen into his daily wellness regimen, Greg experienced a remarkable transformation, reversing many of his chronic conditions and reclaiming his vitality. Today, Greg is passionate about sharing his knowledge and his story with others, empowering people to explore new possibilities for healing, resilience, and taking their health into their own hands. So, without further ado, let's welcome Greg to the podcast and let's get into this powerful conversation today. Greg, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm super excited about this conversation. I can't wait to learn from you and hear about your health journey and how you've improved tremendously.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, by the way. And just so the audience knows, I'm just inhaling hydrogen. I'm not sick. It's just good for me. And we're just sitting here, so I might as well do it. It's good for
Well,
my.
glad that you have it on because that's what this whole topic is going to be about today. So,
Yes.
Greg, take us back to when your health challenges first began. What was happening in your body and your life at that time?
Yeah, I had a lot of severe medical issues. It's a little ironic that I worked in the medical field for just a little over 2 decades. And I really saw what was going on behind the scenes. I wasn't really impressed. And it even was worrisome to me and concerning the level of medical issues and how they're being treated. And I'm not going to give any medical advice today, right? No medical claims or claims for or against products. I don't do that.
Right.
But that really gave me a lot of background, understanding the system. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope I never get sick. And what happened? I ended up getting crazy sick. My medical issues were so severe that I'm not even supposed to be alive right now. That's how bad they were. And I had from autoimmune issues. I did have a heart condition. That was the one that was primarily going to end my life, most likely. I had some tumors in my body. Specifically, a lot of them were located where the nerves, like within the nerves. So that's pretty painful. And I had the inflammation so bad that I literally couldn't even stand up. So I couldn't walk. I was in a lot of pain. And at one point, when it got really bad, I literally couldn't pick up a remote control and change the channel on the television because my joints hurt so bad. And that was really heartbreaking for me because I used to be quite athletic. And to not even be able to turn on the TV, that's ridiculous. An 80-year-old can do that. And so I just broke down and I lost everything because when you can't work, can't stand, can't go to work, can't do anything, almost a vegetable, really, I ended up losing everything. You lose your home and you can't work and that kind of stuff. So it was really a difficult path that I was on and it broke me. It broke me spiritually as much as physically. And it was a very painful time. And I made a vow to, because I felt like I only had one or two choices, either let myself die or I was going to try to find a way. And I'm one of these guys that if I get on a certain path, I'm not a quitter. I just don't quit. I'm relentless like that. But it has to be of such great interest in my heart. I can't just be interested in my head.
Yeah.
It's got to be something in my heart, something that I want so badly deep in my core in order for me to find the answers. And I became quite shocked at the things that I was able to uncover. I got really confused, as you can probably imagine, Susan, when I would watch podcasts about health, because I was willing to learn from everywhere. And it was actually really frustrating because I'd see one podcast saying, hey, you should drink nothing but alkaline water, or you should drink spring water. No, you should drink this water, or you should eat nothing but meat. No, you should eat nothing but vegetables. And it's all contradictory. And it's very frustrating for somebody who just wants to know what the right way to go. It's very confusing. And I tried so many things and I was just suffering and getting worse and I wasn't getting better. And
Can I just ask you, how old were you when this started?
I started having the issues as early as my 20s.
Okay. Wow.
I'm nudging on 50, but it started first in my 20s. And then it was only getting worse and worse. And I was trying to ignore the symptoms. And then as I got into my early 30s, then things started getting really bad. And then that's when I started having these episodes with the inability to walk, the joint pain. These tumors were becoming more painful. The heart condition, when I saw the cardiologist, he told me, you don't have many years left. He said, if we don't do open heart surgery or something, you're going to be a goner. So there was a lot of these things that were starting to really ramp up. The heart condition, ironically, was causing me no pain. So I wasn't really that concerned about the very thing that was supposed to end my life. I was more concerned about the pain and the inability to walk. And that was the big issues that I was concerned with.
What was the autoimmune condition that you were diagnosed with?
So basically, the autoimmune was one of the things that they noticed was that like it was eating away at my bone. So my bones were going away pretty rapidly. And then, of course, the autoimmune was affecting not just my gut, but mostly my joints, the inflammation. And then my immune system was horrible. I'd get sick so easily. I couldn't get over the common cold. It would take me easily a month or more. And then I remember I would finally start getting over it. And within 2 days, I'd get sick again and I'd start all over. And it was like, oh, this cold is never going to end. And so it was, again, a really rough time. And I really didn't understand health the way that I understand now. There's been some pretty revolutionary breakthroughs that I've made. And I was actually just on a phone call before we got on with some doctors. There's some scientists. There's people who've seen what these protocols that I've created that originally were just for myself. But we started seeing what they could do for other people. Because I've had a lot of people who've tried my protocols. And I'm shocked. I actually felt the brainwashing that I had by the system as far as when we're told that some things are just unfixable. And I've seen the things be fixed that are not supposed to be fixable. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to shake off this brainwashing and begin to believe that this stuff is real, that we can. I could give you countless examples. One woman, I have a lot of these on my channels, and my channel is all free, so anybody who wants to have access to it. It's on YouTube, and it's called Uprising 144K. And
I will put that in the show notes, by the way. Yeah, all your information.
And just to give some wild examples that were shocking to me was one woman who had dementia and Alzheimer's, and she didn't even recognize her own daughter. She didn't recognize any of the nurses that took care of her. Her daughter found me, put her on one of my protocols, especially this special type of hydrogen that is made by this Japanese device that I'm even using right now. And all of a sudden, she started being able to recognize her daughter, started recognizing all the people, who were caring for her. You could see it on her face, actually. Her daughter was taking pictures like every week or two, and it was amazing. There was another woman. This woman's almost 100 years old, by the way. I believe she's 99 years old now. She had 3 different heart conditions. Her cardiologist actually wrote me an email, by the way, which I showed on my YouTube channel, because he told this woman who was on pharmaceuticals specifically for controlling blood pressure for over 3 decades, so a long time, She had 3 different heart conditions, and her cardiologist said, you need open heart surgery, but we're not going to do it. You probably wouldn't even survive the surgery. You're almost 100 years old. And she said, so then what do we do? He said, this is what you do. You go home and you count your blessings every day that you wake up and just enjoy the time that you have with your family and the people that you care about.
That's a
And
good answer.
that was what she was told. Little did anybody realize or even think that this would happen. Again, she found out from her daughter also. She got on this hydrogen stuff that I'm using and some of these protocols that I do for myself that people have been wanting to follow. And all her heart conditions went away. And they had to take her off the pharmaceuticals too that she had been on for over 3 decades because her body started working properly. And that's why her cardiologist wrote me the email. And I've had this a lot. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've had a lot of doctors, so many doctors, countless amount of doctors, naturopaths, supposed health gurus, biohackers, scientists who have either seen the results in their family or friends or somebody that I worked with, or they also saw, like in this case, there's a very big scientist. We're going to become, and he's a doctor too, and this data is going to be coming out in the near future. Right now, I'm not at liberty to say too many details, but he saw some blood work from one of the guys following my protocol, and he reached out to me. And this is a guy that you can't get on the phone. He's pretty big time. And I was shocked when he was reaching out to me, and he just let me know. He said, look, I just saw this guy's blood work. The impossible is happening. He goes, I can't believe what I'm witnessing. He said, what in the world are you doing? He said, you know how long I've been trying to figure something like this out, and I haven't been able to. And I have the proof right here. And so he's doing more research now on my protocols. I want to know everything that you know, everything that you've created, everything that you've figured out. So this has been a long time running. I've been doing my videos for over a decade now. And
How did you discover this, Greg? How did you stumble? I feel like you stumbled upon something. How
yeah,
lucky were you?
oh, believe me, I almost can't believe it myself a lot of times. This is what I vowed to do. This is how it all happened because it wasn't just one thing. So when I try to find an answer to a question, like the one that I was trying to find for my health, I looked everywhere. So this is what I did. After looking at these podcasts of people saying, hey, you should eat nothing but meat, or you should eat nothing but fruit, or all these different things. And I got so frustrated, and I was trying all these different protocols, and they weren't working. And then finally, I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. This is what I'm going to do. I started looking at scientific literature. So instead of listening to other people and what their opinions are, I'm going to look at data, the best data that I can find. That was one thing I did. The second thing I did is I actually started reading ancient scriptures, looking for ancient wisdom in regards to health and lining that up with the science. So that's why I'm taking it from different places to find a consensus, right? And then I would also meditate. I meditate a lot. So a lot of stuff just comes to me. And something weird happened. This is why I cringe a little bit because I know it sounds weird, but this is what happened.
I'm open to listening to weirdness. Go right ahead.
As long as you're okay with it. You know, that day that I tried to do the remote and I couldn't, I just started crying. I broke down because here, again, I used to be athletic and be able to do all these things. And now I can't turn on a television. And I just started crying and I was broken. And I made a prayer, which I think we often do at our lowest point. And I just remember praying. I remember exactly what I was praying, and I remember exactly what was in my heart. And I just said it without thinking, really. It just came from my heart. And I just said, God, I didn't even ask for a miracle. I didn't say, hey, heal me. I just said, God, if you can somehow guide me and help me figure out exactly how to resolve this issue that I have or these issues that I have. And somehow I just believed that whatever could help me could probably help a lot of people, whatever that method or methods would be. That was just all intuitive. And then I promised him, I said, I promise that if you help me find my way, that I will show others and help others with what it is that I've discovered. And it was probably within about a week or two, something happened, like almost like a little switch in my brain, because I had been trying to read a lot of the scientific literature. Yeah. And it was very difficult. Massive amounts of papers, the jargon or the terminology, and it was so difficult to understand. And it was really frustrating. And I was looking at the data to figure out ways that I could implement it into simple protocols. And something happened, and all of a sudden, everything just started coming easier to me and easier and easier. And it's been that way. It's like I get these visions of how the human body works and different things that we should be looking at that we never thought to look at. And I started trying to create these protocols based on this knowledge. And I was just shocked at the things that I started to see. And that's why I just got off the phone also before this other call that I was on a phone call with a doctor, Dr. Diego. He's actually he's an excellent surgeon. He's a surgeon in Florida, and he has type 1 diabetes. He contacted me because he's also been trying to find ways to either improve it or potentially fix it. Now, we all know that type 1 diabetes is supposed to be unfixable. We know this, or at least I think most people know this. Well, I just talked to him today, and the direction that we're headed, he's shocked. What he wants to do, and not just him, there's another doctor with big connections to the ADA, which is the American Diabetes Association. They've been tracking. So this specific doctor with the type 1 diabetes, he's been tracking how my protocols affect his body, his blood glucose. And just so you know, you don't have to be diabetic to understand that it's important to regulate blood glucose. Just because you don't need insulin or something doesn't mean it's not important.
Right.
Because people would be shocked that one can of soda pop can suppress your immune system for roughly 4 to 6 hours and increase your risk of viral or bacterial infections because of these sugar spikes that they cause, right? And so when he saw what my protocol was doing for his blood glucose, he said it was doing the impossible. He said, this is crazy. He goes, I've never been able to accomplish regulation like what I'm seeing. He said, I don't even think it should be technically possible, but the world clearly doesn't know about it. And then it was funny because he couldn't figure out what part of my protocol was doing it. So he started trying to eliminate pieces and measure. And he said, every time I took a piece away, it got worse. He said, I realized that the way that you created it is that it all works synergistically. It's like saying, which finger is more important?
Right.
You want all your fingers, your forearm, your brain, your shoulders, like all our body works together synergistically. And he realized that and I created a special protocol for him because everybody's different. There's not just like a one size fits all as far as protocols are concerned. And then there's different levels to them depending on the severity of your medical issues or how much effort you want to put in. So on top of that, but just to go back to some of the examples of things that I've seen people with like arthritis that goes away, blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues. We talked about the dementia, the Alzheimer's. I was shocked when I started seeing things about the eyes. I worked with some people with macular degeneration, which is supposed to be unfixable. So far, I have 2 people that their macular degeneration went away. So that was pretty shocking because it's not supposed to be fixable. I know somebody who had glaucoma. Their glaucoma went away. A lot of people with brain fog issues. Gut issues has been a big one. I worked with a lot of people with celiac disease, Crohn's disease, IBS, leaky gut with great success. All their issues also just mysteriously went away. I worked with people with chronic fatigue syndrome, a ton of success with that one too. Just on and on it goes. It's been the craziest thing. It's still been hard for me to believe, but it's been so long now, and I really have a better understanding of what's happening in the body and how to litigate a lot of this stuff. And I'll tell you right now, one of the most biggest foundational things to my protocol is clean water. Here's a lab report right here. And I don't know why people don't talk about it more. And I can give you a little peek into my brain and how it works in regards to these things. Because when you talk about water, what does everybody say? Let's just go into examples. Again, it should be the alkaline water, right? Or no, it should be the spring water, right? Or it should be distilled water, right? Or whatever it is. Everybody's coming up with their own ideas about what's the magic water. When I did my own critical thinking, this is what I thought to myself. What do I want out of my water? And my head said, how about clean water? How about that? Why am I so focused on pH this and it came from this glacier or whatever? What about what's in our water and just cleaning it out? So I ended up having to become a water expert. I learned every water filtration modality in existence, what they can and cannot do. I observed nature, and I found it in ancient scripture too. Actually, I could give you some interesting examples. But ultimately, I found the right way to truly clean water with laboratory proof that proves it. Luckily, it's not expensive. If anybody wants to look at the equipment I use, you don't have to use the equipment that I use, but I only share that which I use. It's an American-made, I call it a carbon distiller. So basically, you can see those on a website called mypurewater.com. And of course, if people want discount codes, because people love discounts, you can use the code uprising144K if you want. And then for the hydrogen machine, that's different. That's a website called holyhydrogen.com for the #1 machine in the world. It's a Japanese machine. And in my opinion, it's by far the best there is. And I could explain why, but it'd probably bore everybody. But going back to water, if you start looking at what's in our water, all these are things, all contaminants that are in our water, just pages and
Wow.
pages of stuff. And this is not even everything. And when I was learning about water, I can tell you many of the things that surprised me. I'll show you one of the ones that just shocked me. Did you ever think that we had radioactive contaminants in our water?
No.
I would have
No.
never thought that either. Now, do you think they cause harm to the body?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a no-brainer.
Right. And but you think, right? You think it's a no-brainer, but how many people do you hear talking about how important clean water is? They tend to talk about this supplement, that, buy this thing, buy that thing. But if you look real closely, so this is the radioactive contaminants, and you can see the carbon distillation is removing 99.8% or greater than 99% of these radioactive contaminants. That's a very important thing. Okay? Not to mention viruses, bacteria, parasites, different types of contaminants in our water. Not to mention the microplastics, the forever chemicals, the pharmaceutical drugs, on and on it goes. It's crazy that we didn't think that this is important. It's crazy to me.
Wow.
And so I had to learn. And if I were to show you, I'll show you just one of my more favorite examples. You know what PFAS is, right? The forever chemical.
Yes.
So these are the levels found in the water, and these are all the other things too, by the way. And this is after carbon distillation, zeros.
Wow.
Because it's your only way to truly purify your water. And it literally takes about 3 to 6 hours to purify 1 gallon of water. So if you have water that just comes right out of a refrigerator, good luck if you think that it's fully purified when it takes 3 to 6 hours to purify 1 gallon usually. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it actually comes from the power of nature. Do you know how nature cleans its water, by the way?
No, I'm thinking that does it get filtered with the rocks in the ground or something? But no, I don't know.
That's what most people think. And I'm not going to say that that's not part of it, but the real true power of water filtration comes from hydrogen. It comes from the sun. The sun is obviously made of mostly hydrogen. And I could show you one picture when the sun hits the water and it rises up. That's why one of the reasons I call my channel Uprising, because when it rises up and ascends into the heavens, it actually is purifying the water, because the water is so fascinating, by the way, but it leaves all impurities behind when it ascends. And so I found in ancient scripture something that says, pure as the driven snow, pure as white as snow. Snow is distilled water.
Oh.
And that's how you purify the water. Now, granted, a lot of people will say, wait a second, you're going to get rid of all the minerals in the water when you put it through that process, right? Here's the thing. You're going to get rid of everything when you do that process. And that's just the way that it is. But the good news is it's so cheap and easy to mineralize your water. It's not complicated. And really great minerals, depends on which ones you choose, but these are the ones that I choose. And
Is that in a glass bottle?
this one isn't. Most of them are. It just depends, but this one isn't, just for shipping purposes for this particular company. What's funny about that? I used to freak out about all the little things that are made of plastic.
Yeah.
But here's what's shocking. Do you know where the majority, like a huge amount, the majority of all the microplastics that come into your body, do you know where they're coming from?
No, I think I heard, I don't remember, but I remember hearing something about it. Where is it from?
Your water. So when you buy, for example, when you buy bottled water, that has the highest level of microplastics than anything you're going to be consuming. Okay. If you test your tap water, high levels of microplastics. Okay. It's in the water. But when you put it through carbon distillation, you get rid of all of it. So you don't have to freak out about the little things. Like, oh my gosh, my cup is made of plastic and I poured water in there and it was in there for 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? Those are the small things. On my protocols, I go after the big stuff. I don't sweat the small stuff.
Okay.
because I used to sweat the small stuff at first. It became to be so stressful
Yeah.
and not realistic. And when I realized with all the data that the majority is coming from my water, I'm like, then I just clean my water. And of course, I put the best hydrogen in, which like supercharges the water to do things that you can't even fathom. And that's going to help flush this stuff out of your body too, because you got clean water now.
Yeah.
Instead of introducing it into your body, you're bringing in clean water that helps pull out the microplastics and flush out all the garbage out of the body.
Yeah.
Not to mention the hydrogen, which appears to basically neutralize free radicals and all the benefits of hydrogen acting as a selective antioxidant.
I want to hear all about the hydrogen benefits.
And the whole reason that I got on the water thing actually was because I was reading the medical literature on hydrogen.
Okay.
And as I was reading the literature, I'm so skeptical that I thought, because I have a healthy level of skepticism, if not maybe a little more than healthy levels, just because the world is so crazy these days.
Yeah.
But when I was reading the literature, I realized right now I'm inhaling hydrogen gas, just pure hydrogen gas, not mixed with anything, no chemicals like lye or cheap metals like plated metals or stainless steel. This is like top grade, best hydrogen I can be inhaling. But you can dissolve the gas into liquids. Much carbonated water, that has a gas that is dissolved into the liquid, which is CO2. And there's different benefits to the water and to the inhalation. And so when I realized that I was going to have to use water as a carrier for the gas, which by the way, nature does. I can give you a perfect example. Our blood is like water, right? What are you really breathing in right now? You're breathing in gases. You're breathing probably roughly 20% oxygen in our atmosphere, okay? You're actually dissolving that gas into your water or your blood. That's why when you maybe go see a doctor or something, they might put what's called an oximeter on your. That's testing oxygen saturation levels. Oxygen's a gas. By nature, there's like a design. This is, again, all these protocols are about understanding the design of nature so that we can just simply follow it and our bodies will repair, right? And so we're dissolving that gas into our blood, which is what I'm doing right now, even by inhaling the hydrogen. So I dissolve the hydrogen gas into the water and drink the water. And I also inhale this gas. The science on it's really great, but there's also a place in nature that does it again. See, this is why I love looking at nature for answers. Have you ever heard of a place called Lourdes, France, or Lourdes, France?
I think I have, yes.
Like a very sacred, it's funny, it's supposed to be a holy place, which is funny that the hydrogen company is named Holy Hydrogen. But this holy site where supposedly like some being of light, I think they think it was Mother Mary or something, she said, dig here for a natural spring. And people started drinking from the spring and having like miracles, basically. And for the longest time, for years, people were having these amazing stories. And finally, it was decided to test these people because they thought it was placebo. They're like, let's really test these people and see if something really is happening. And they were seeing that something really was happening biologically. So what's going on? Let's test the water. So they test the water. Everybody who tested the water said there's nothing special about it, nothing magical. It's just H2O until the Japanese. Thank God for the Japanese, because the level of details that you would have had to go through in order to find what they found, which was that water had high levels of molecular hydrogen gas dissolved into it.
Wow.
Which is very tricky to figure out, because if we took a sample of that water and sent it to a lab, by the time it'd get to the lab, the hydrogen gas would be gone. So then how would they ever figure it out? They figured it out because they tested it on site. Smart. The Japanese are very bright.
Yes.
And so then they started seeing how this affected mice, and they did a lot of research studies. I was able to see a lot of the footage, and I've seen everything about hydrogen. I was so impressed with hydrogen, and we could go on and on about the benefits. It's ridiculous. We could talk 10 hours straight about hydrogen and the amazing things that we have seen, because we're not talking about something that has 10 research studies or 20 or 100 research studies or 500 research studies or even 1,000. It has over 2,000 studies to date. It's extremely impressive. It's not only is it being used in around roughly 30 university hospitals in Japan medically, it is now being used. They're doing the first studies finally, America, because they fall so far behind a lot of times of what the Japanese do. The Japanese are easily 10 to 20 years ahead of us in certain things, especially in the whole hydrogen thing. But Boston Children's Hospital is now doing some hydrogen research finally, and seeing how it affects the heart, because that's one of the things that appears that hydrogen is amazing for is the heart. And that's obviously how I resolved my issue. Though I tried a lot of like cheap stuff, like it's silly, but like I tried these cheap little bottles to make some hydrogen. That was a joke. It was ridiculous. Understanding what these are now, because I ended up studying the engineering and how to make all these hydrogen products. And when I did that, I was very disappointed in what I was seeing about these products coming out of China. And then you hear about the hydrogen tablets. Have you heard of these?
No.
So they sell tablets, which I'm not a fan of at all either. That utilizes a chemical reaction to try to produce the hydrogen. And I've already seen lab reports. I'm concerned. I would never use them for myself, but they're very popular. People talk about them because they're cheap. Everybody wants something for.
Yeah, yes.
And so that's not the method that I went. And when I finally started doing hydrogen correctly, because I had done the tablets and the bottles, and I used like one of those Kangen machines that made alkaline water that supposedly had hydrogen. I did all the wrong methods basically. And when I started studying the engineering is when the whole thing changed. I didn't know originally when I was researching, because when you read the research studies, you're seeing how amazing hydrogen is, right? You see all the things that it appears to be doing for like the mitochondria, for example, which is incredible. And you're seeing all this amazing info, which I read for years because I was skeptical at first. I thought this has to be a scam. And then I found out it really was legitimate. But when you actually had to put it into practice,
Yeah.
I was trying to find something cheap, right? So I found those bottles and the tablets, and I was looking for something cheap. I wasn't seeing any results. Then I would even get some expensive equipment, not knowing the differences of the equipment, still getting no results. And it wasn't until I started realizing that there's many different ways of making hydrogen. And I looked for the best method, not the cheapest, the best method. And that led me, ironically, to the number one hydrogen company in the world, basically, but they're in Japan. They have number one technology when it comes to producing hydrogen. And then I started realizing how important the metal was. And then I had to become a metal expert. I had to learn about the science of metallurgy, understanding all the different aspects of making hydrogen properly. It was a lot of work. This whole thing's been a lot of work. But after you find the answers, it's so much easier to just give somebody the answers rather than them having to spend 10 years or 15 years of their life trying to find the answers. And then lo and behold, we started seeing what it was doing for people. And now it's starting to catch attention. And so this is going to be.
What are the benefits of hydrogen? What is it doing for people?
Yeah, so I could tell you the medical issues, obviously, that I've seen disappear. But as far as the way what it appears to be doing in the body, it does appear to function as an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
Selective antioxidant. This is huge, actually, because the average person doesn't realize. Are you aware that antioxidants actually come in different sizes?
No.
See, the average person doesn't know this, and this is really important. So the size of vitamin E versus the size of vitamin C versus the size of CoQ10 versus the size of glutathione, they all have different sizes. And the reason that this is important is think of your body as a house, right? Think of CoQ10 as like an elephant. And you want to get this antioxidant into your house, or maybe into the cell. Maybe the better analogy is a cell. You're not going to get the elephant through your front door. It's not going to happen. I've seen the sizes of all these different antioxidants. And then when you put hydrogen next to them, it's no contest. Hydrogen is so tiny, it literally go right through glass, right through metal, right through your tissues. There is no place in your body that hydrogen can't reach. Hence the reason I began to realize that it's so important that the hydrogen be made purely and correctly. You don't want contaminants, the byproduct, which began to be the main issue that I was seeing in the world of hydrogen. Because China is not trying to give us their best, okay? They just make cheap garbage, in my opinion, just my opinions. And almost every single product, if you read where it's from China.
Right.
And Companies have caught on to me talking about this, so now they say made in Asia. They don't even want to see, like, everybody's afraid of saying made in China. But when I followed the data, it led me to Japan, because I'm not biased. I'm like, I'm just going to look at what all I ever look for is what's the best, and wherever that leads, and that path leads. And the Japanese were clearly on another level. We can't even understand. And thank God for the man who created this machine, because nobody probably knows the story, but it's quite remarkable. He actually created this device for his daughter. His daughter was born very sick. He was told that she would probably pass away by the age of 3, potentially 5. Yeah, very sad. I didn't even know this story at first. I just went off the data and found this piece of equipment. I didn't find out till years later that he had done this for his daughter, and that he had been approached where they said, hey, you could make this device in China, save a bunch of money, make bigger profits. And he said, no, I am not going to let them get their hands on what I'm trying to build here, because I want to have no mistakes. Everything's going to be done in-house. Everything is going to be done top tier to the best of our abilities, no cutting corners, because this is for my daughter. And he had read the data on hydrogen. He had even approached the doctor that was caring for his daughter, and he had bought equipment, a lot of the same equipment that I bought too. And he presented it to the doctor and said, I would like my daughter to try some of this hydrogen stuff, but I want to consult with you and see what your opinion is. And that's when the doctor told him, you can't give her any of this stuff. And he was like, why? He said, your daughter is very compromised. Her health is compromised. The small impurities could cause her to have huge problems or potentially even pass away. So you can't give her any of these products. And so he went out and tried to look for a hydrogen machine of the highest purity, basically making it the right way. And then that's when he discovered that it didn't exist. So he went, and this is a beautiful thing about the Japanese and their culture. For a lot of people who don't know, they're always willing to work together for greater advancement, especially within their country. Yeah. And that's when he approached Toyota, because they have amazing hydrogen technology, G-Shock, Yamaha, a gigantic company called Kobe Steel. We're talking about titans of industry. And he had done the research to figure out how to build the best hydrogen machine possible. And then he needed the help from each industry with special pieces of technology that were going to go into this thing. And he ended up creating it. And I'm telling you right now, he created a masterpiece. And it's not just a masterpiece. To get this level of hydrogen, when I was looking for hydrogen, the equipment you would have needed for like really high-end hydrogen, we're talking at least in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not into the millions, for like really like industrial equipment to make quality medical grade hydrogen. And now he makes this little device that's like a little over $2,000. It's so cheap, and it makes the best, in my opinion, but by far the best hydrogen water that you could ever make. And that includes the heavy duty equipment, the expensive $1 million equipment. This thing they're the only company in the world, one company, one machine out of all the thousands of machines out there. There's only one that uses, for example, their metal technology. They don't use plated metals, coated metals, cheap stainless steel metals. They don't use chemicals to make their hydrogen. It's pretty phenomenal what they did. Wow. And I was pretty impressed when I was reading about it, but I was also I was skeptical. I was like, is this real? Like, why is there only one machine? That doesn't even make any sense. Because like carbon distillation, I like the ones from mypurewater.com, but there's other carbon distillers out there. They're not the only ones. But in the world of hydrogen, this was the only ones. And once I found the story behind it, it began to make a lot of sense. The guy never did this for big profits. See, apparently to build his machine is expensive because he does it all in Japan. It's all handmade. Every single machine gets lab tested and certified, which is crazy. Again, there's nobody in the industry that does it. They're the only company in the world that does it. And it was all for the love of his daughter, which, by the way, his daughter is going to be 18 years old. She is an absolute miracle. Nobody has ever lived as long as she has with the severity of medical issues that she was born with. She is literally one off. And I think he has really shown the power of hydrogen. And I've seen it for myself. There's plenty of proof out there too. I have thermal imaging studies from a Japanese medical clinic using this device. I saw live blood analysis. That one was really wild. I published and showed that data on my YouTube channel. And I had a doctor reach out to me more than one, but this specific doctor was telling me, she goes, "You're showing there's impossible." She goes, "This is not even possible." And she got hell bent on proving me wrong. And she, "I prove you wrong. Will you tell everybody on your channel and make a video?" And I said, "Absolutely," because I'm looking for the truth. That's all I
Yeah.
want. We want the truth. I'm tired of being lied to about our health. I'm tired of all these millions of products that they tell us are going to get us healthy, because I went through that and it was horrible. You spend money, you're wasting time, and you're not getting better, right? And so what ended up happening was she ended up buying the same exact piece of equipment, taking it to her own lab, doing the exact same live analysis study that I showed on my video 68. My videos are numbered, by the way. And then the results came back identical. She came back to me. She's like, "I just can't believe it, but it's real." And then she became a huge proponent for hydrogen. And she actually has a great testimonial from her mother, who is also almost 100 years old. And she was giving her mother all these supplements and just always some new thing that she was trying to give her mother, because she cares about her
Yeah.
mother. And the mother always, it was a funny story. Her mother said that she would never ask her what she was giving her, like what she was receiving. She said, "I just take it. My daughter's a doctor. I trust her. I just took whatever." And apparently she started giving her this device, the water from this device. And that's what shifted things for her. And I still remember this story because apparently the mother asked her daughter, she goes, "Honey, you bring me a lot of things. I just take it. I never even ask. I just take whatever you give me." She goes, "But this time I have to ask you, what in the world are you giving me? Because this stuff just looks like water, and whatever it is, I'm feeling so much better now. I can get up and walk around." She could barely get up and walk. She would get so tired within 2, 3 minutes. And she could get up and walk around for hours now. And she's
Wow.
like, "What is this stuff?" And she's, "It's hydrogen, Mom." She goes, "Hydrogen? It's just water." She doesn't realize that the gas is dissolved in the water. And I have some video footage that I released of a guy who is running a care home, and he heard about me, and he's like, "Hey, what if I give some of this stuff to one of my Parkinson's patients? There's this guy who can't even stand up, let alone walk." And I just showed footage of him walking. And the doctors are so blown away by these things that I've been doing for so long. And that's why we're really working on trying to get this word out, because we truly, in my opinion, there's something truly special here.
Yeah.
Um, and not to mention what it does, hydrogen also is like super good for the skin. In Japan, they use it as a beauty thing too, because they've shown in research of how it helps the body produce collagen for the
Ah.
skin. And so they use it for beauty, even anti-aging. There was an interesting study I saw where they tested the blood. So the Japanese have some really intricate blood work where they can tell you roughly your age by looking at your blood. And this guy, they tested his blood, and then they had him do the hydrogen water, the clean, properly made hydrogen water. So it was, again, high quality, which makes all the difference in the world. And he did that for a year. And when they tested his blood after a year, his blood was 5 years younger. Is
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So is this available to anyone at this point? Is it accessible for people to get?
At this point, yes, thank goodness. There's been a few issues throughout the years where sometimes they're not available, but right now they are. The official company, if you want to get something, an official device, and be cautious out there, I always tell people go to the official company, because the Chinese have been making knockoffs. So they make it look like the same device, but they're
Yeah.
not actually using the proper technology. And the only reason I know that is because I've been contacted by some guys who bought them off of eBay or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, it broke and something's wrong." And I was curious, and I said, "Get the serial number and call the company." And then I got curious. I'm like, "So what happened?" And then when we found out from the company looking at the number, they said, "That's not even one of our machines." So that's how they found out that they were being copied. And I did find out that there's a group, pretty large group in China, that knows a ton about hydrogen, and they don't even use their own equipment. They use the Japanese one, is what I found out. So the people who are in the real know use this particular piece of equipment. For the rest of the people who don't know, they just find whatever they find and they use this stuff. But yeah, the name of the official company's website is called holyhydrogen.com. So
Okay, and I'll put that in the show notes also.
and that way people can go to the website if they want, they can read about it, they can look, but that's the equipment. And that's the one that is also designed for international usage.
Okay.
Because one of the things I didn't know when I was first digging into all this is that the Japanese developed the machine, but it was only designed for Japan. And I was curious about it. I even asked the company, I said, "What do you mean just designed for Japan? Won't it work anywhere else?" And that's when I felt so silly. I didn't realize that Japan has the most stable electrical grid system in the world. And so the way that you regulate electrical current has a lot to do with how you make hydrogen safely, cleanly, properly. And so they had to design for international use a better piece of equipment that was more robust, designed to be able to deal with the electricity, because America has a lot of instability, by the way, in our grid system. And a lot of other countries do too. And so that's why they had to design this new piece of equipment. They call it their premium edition, which is also their medical edition. And yeah, we can totally have access to it in America. We're kind of lucky like that. We can get their best and we don't have to get a prescription. We don't need to, yeah, we all have full access to it at this time. So thank goodness for that.
Greg, any final thoughts you'd like to leave my listeners with today?
All I can say is if anybody wants to support what I've been trying to do this for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I'm now I finally have more support from the doctors and the scientists who finally have found me. But all I can tell people out there is one, if you want to support what I'm doing, it's free. You just go to my YouTube channel. I would also suggest going to Rumble, Instagram, and Twitter and just subscribing to all of them.
Okay.
Because I have been threatened multiple times. And if any of these channels end up getting taken down, the only way you're going to find me is on one of the other channels. And then I'll open up some new channel. And that's the only way you're probably going to find me again. Plus, it helps. Subscribing is free, but it really helps having all the subscribers.
Yeah.
And then sharing the video. That's the biggest thing because that's the only way this is really getting out. It's a grassroots thing. Share these videos, especially with people who you know are either suffering, looking for some type of answer when they haven't really found what they're looking for. And that's the only thing that I would tell people because I think that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah. Wow, this has been an incredible episode for me, and I learned so much. And looking at you, you look like the picture of health. How old are you, did you say?
Yeah, I'm about to be 50 and yeah.
You look about 30 years old.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah, at least, or younger, actually. I thought you were in your 20s.
And I wish that I would have taken better care of myself in my youth. I was sadly I was the opposite of health. I was self-destructive. That's another story for another day. But, now I wish I would have taken better care of myself. But for me, my purpose, because I didn't talk about it a lot, but I did have one of those NDE experiences, the whole near-death experience when I was really sick and I had some issues. And I learned something very important when I was on the other side. And the one thing that I realized is one, you're not taking anything with you really. You're not taking any of your fancy clothes or car or house. You're not taking any of this with you. But I did realize, I believe, from what I saw and experienced, that there's only two things that you do take with you. Anything good or anything bad that you've ever done to anyone else. And I felt that when I was over there. And so I feel like in my life, it's so important to me that I just want to do something good. That's what I want to do. And I don't want to get distracted by money and all these shenanigans of the world or having to have the fanciest stuff. I don't even care about that stuff anymore. Life is so short that even at my age, how many years am I really going to have left? Even if I lived another 30 years, that's such a short period of time.
It
right?
is. Yes.
And so life is so short that to me, it's do something that feeds your soul. And I found out that the way that I feed my soul, at least, is when I do good things for others. I believe there was a really wise man one day, everybody knows Jesus, but he would say, love one another as I have loved you. That was one of his greatest teachings, right? Love your neighbor. That just means in everything that you do, try to do it good for the goodness of others, to help others. And it just feeds you. It makes you feel good. It's so obvious, right? You feel good when you do good things. And so that's the route that I've chosen, the direction that I chose to take in my life. And I appreciate you having me on, allowing me to share my message.
It was my pleasure. Yeah, thank you. This was great. So great. I'm going to go to your YouTube channel, subscribe, and start listening and learn a lot more because there's a lot to learn.
Yes, there really is. And I try to make it as simple as possible. And I am working. So anybody stay tuned. Definitely subscribe because I've been working with some people, especially with these doctors who started getting involved. They wanted to put, because all my protocols and everything is just in my head. And so we're trying to put everything like in a digital format, maybe even a website, something like this, so everybody can start having access to it.
Yes.
And stay tuned for that because we're going to be releasing that hopefully in the very near future where people will have access to all the information, without having to contact me directly. For normally people contact me for direct consults and they need help, but it'd be really nice once this is all set up so a lot of more people can have access to the information. So make it
Great.
easier.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck with everything. I absolutely love what you're doing, and you're going to continue to do great things, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here with me today on the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. Greg's journey is such a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's always the potential for healing, transformation, and renewal. We have to stay open, we have to ask questions, and we need to take ownership of our health. We can discover paths that we never knew existed. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share this episode with someone who may need a little hope and inspiration right now. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you can continue this journey with me each week. Remember, your body was designed to heal. When you nourish it, support it, and truly listen, incredible things can happen. Until the next time, take a deep breath, honor your body, and keep moving forward on your path to healing and rejuvenation. Thank you for listening today.